Oh man, Michael, tell me about 2020 for you.
I feel like a war profiteer. 2020 has actually been a great year. You know, it's I talk about this in my show. 2020 is a bad year because of the pandemic on the big scale, death and people going hungry and all that stuff. Terrible. But we also forget that on an individual level, it could be a good year, and that doesn't diminish or take away from what other people experience. We are individuals. We can have a bad year, but have it be good for us. And it was good for me on a couple of fronts. First, I jumped into the virtual mind reading mentalism show thing really quickly. Um, I actually, we can talk about this in a second, created a business model a few years ago that was prepared for this. My market, my business model was prepared for what I thought was going to be an economic collapse, not a pandemic. But I was ready day one to jump in. I think it's a good year for me on a personal level because I've worked more than I ever have. I've been able to burn through material and see what truly works and what doesn't. And for the first time in my career, I recorded every single show and had the opportunity to watch the audience as opposed to me, thanks to Zoom. I knew exactly when I lost them, exactly when I had them, and could create a very solid show with, in essence, market research of recording my audience's face during a performance hundreds of times. I think the third reason it's been good, outside of all this is outside of working more and making more money, is I've because of my business model, and we can again go into this in a moment, I expanded my market reach. I was able to perform for people who normally wouldn't be able to afford me or wouldn't necessarily have me fly out to their show, which was all part of this plan that I set up a few years ago. And because of that, I see my future, at least for the next few years, as book solid. And I'm seeing that come into fruition now. So I think the mistake a lot of people are making is looking at it going, oh man, this year sucked. I had to do all virtual shows, as opposed to thinking, I'm set for the next 3 years. I just changed my entire livelihood. And as soon as the gates open for live shows, it's going to be a flood, and I'm at the front of that flood.
Lockdown.
One more time, please.
You heard that there was a lockdown, and then what? And then
So I was in Aspen. I was doing a string of shows in February where I was going from like city to city. My markets, country clubs, and private events and corporate events. I was at a private club in Aspen, and I did the show the night before. It was a little weird because the outbreak was happening, but nobody kind of knew what the restrictions were. And the next morning, they were like, "All right, you need to pack up and go to the airport right now because the airport's closing and the last plane's leaving." And I was like, So packed up. I was like, can I get a meal to go? Got to the airport. It was like the night of Saigon, like with the helicopters. It was just, you couldn't get into the airport until your flight was ready to board. And it was just pandemic. And I kind of looked around. I was like, this is not going well. I had, as a mentalist, sold all my stocks on that little train, on that little route that I was going on when I was in Florida. I was like, this is not going well. I sold all my stocks and just rebought everything at the bottom. So I've been great this year. Thanks for the mentalism thing. But I was in Aspen. I was flying home and I just looked around and I said, like, this is worse than we think it is. And even if there are live shows, they're not going to be good. So I got home, a couple of shows canceled, and the mentality was like, oh, things will pick up in a few months. And I just started doing the virtual shows. I worked in television for 15 years. I know how to put on a show. I know how to light. I know how to use cameras. So I had a head start in understanding the technology necessarily to put on a good show. There was a lot of advancement over the months. I mean, in terms of putting a set together and curtains and lights, but the basic elements of I'm going to put on a show came together pretty quickly. I had also used Zoom before all of this for business reasons, so I understood how to use Zoom on a basic level. Um, and then we just assumed it was going to be a few months. I didn't really put a tremendous amount of money. I didn't buy lights. And then I went to North Carolina for a show. They didn't want to cancel. I said, what's the worst that can happen? So I flew out to North Carolina. I had it was like out of a movie. I had the mask and the plastics, and there was a guy in front of me in a hazmat suit, and I'm like, the show was fine. I adjusted my act. I did everything with people socially distanced. It was a great show. It was the travel. It was everything around that show that was out of my control, and I just went, this is not changing for months, and we need to stay in our apartments. We need to stay in our homes. This is not appropriate. And it was the kind of that moment that I just called up. I canceled everything through December, canceled, changed my business model from saying, hey, we'll be back soon, to really pushing the virtual shows and letting my audience know that, no, this is what this is what I can offer, but this is what we're doing right now. And really invested in the show.
And that switch happened.
That happened after, I mean, that happened in, let's see, March, late April, early March, late April, early May, when I did that last live show.
Do you think you had done up until then? How many Zoom shows had you done?
Up until that point, I've done 20 something shows, 30 shows. I mean, I was doing about
Okay.
3 a week, 3, 4 a week. Again, because I'm doing my Zoom show is not a 15-minute. I consider a show a show. So I'm doing my full 50-minute show where I sell it to a group or a person, and then they're responsible for distributing it. I've only done 2 open to the public friends and family shows, and that was as a favor to my friends who never get to see my show. But my Zoom show, also, by the way, I didn't want to burn through material I use in real shows, because all these people were going to hire me. So everything I did in my Zoom show had to be for Zoom. So there was a lot of, there were about 3 weeks. I mean, I wish I could show you here, my books piling up, going through everything, going, okay, what's going to work? And I think we can talk about what I've done, but I think it's also important to talk about what I've seen happen, because I've watched as many as I could. And I know what I don't like. I don't like going onto a Zoom show, a 15-minute segment, I'd call it. Sit at a table, do card tricks, knock yourself out. The Magic Castle does that every week. They do a Saturday show. It's someone sitting at a table doing a couple tricks for 15 minutes, and then they go on to the next performer. I'm fine with that. It's not the most exciting. But if you're hiring me for an hour, I'm not going to sit down. I'm going to be doing a show with a beginning, a middle, and an end, with music, with a background, and I'm giving them their money's worth. And there's 2 reasons for that. First, if you're sitting at a table doing card tricks, that works for Zoom. Great. You got your money, you got your payment. Those people aren't going to hire you again. Once this is over, they may do a virtual event again, but they're not going to invite you to their venue to sit at a table and do a show. People have a hard time understanding what's out of their view. So this whole Zoom thing is about setting up the future. So for me, I want them to know I'm on a stage, I'm doing social. I set up a second B show as my Zoom show. All new material. I do a phenomenal 50-minute high energy magic and mentalism show. And at the end of it, I send an email to the booker and I say, hey, don't forget my other show, the in-person show, is completely different material. And if you enjoy this, you're going to love that. And they write, and every single one writes back, oh my God, I didn't know that. Yeah, please reach out as soon as this opens back up. I don't see that happening as much with these people who are doing very good shows. I don't want to take away their quality, but I don't see the longevity in a lot of their acts. And as soon as
how do you personally jump off that cliff and commit? Because you're saying, like, you didn't want to create something that was just a placeholder for a little while. Like, you did that at the beginning.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. So
you let it happen, but then you actually had to dive in and really work hard to make it a separate product, a separate service.
So in the early 90s, Max Maven, mentalist, godfather of mentalism, got in a bit of a controversy. He had made a comment about professionals talking to professionals and not seeking the advice of amateurs. And I know people outside of the magic world watch this. So in the magic world, it's like 99% amateurs and pro amateurs. Pro amateur being you do paid shows, but you have a second job. It's not your only source of income. there's a big difference between this is my living, this is what I survive off of for the rest of my life. And I do a couple shows a year, or I do 50 shows a year, but I also have a regular job. My This is my job. This is my living. This is not something I do for fun on the weekends. And because of that, my standard of excellence has to be perfection for every show. I can't do a half-ass show. I can't call a client and say, pay me and have all of your members or your staff or your friends come to this venue, whether it's Zoom or in person, and try out material or do stuff that fools magicians like that. I would never hire a band that doesn't play on tune or on key or on tempo every time. Why would I hire a magician to try out, not do their best at every single show? So when I do anything, it is with the understanding that I'm a professional and I'm giving you a professional experience. So when I put this together, it really was, yes, it was done within a couple of weeks, but it was, I read the books that I have. They're not displays. I know a lot of people go like, where did you learn? They go, oh, it's in this book I read. Oh, you read that? Oh, I have it. I have it. Read it. Everything you need is in those books that people, whatever photographers, whatever, it's all in those books. And I actually read the books. So I had this wealth of information, this kind of filing cabinet in my head. And I said, oh, I think David Berglis did this thing on a TV show in the 70s. Go to his book. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, I can do this. So-and-so wrote about this. Ken Neary wrote about this in his, no, that's not going to work for me. That's not going to work. And then I did it. And then, you know what? Look, my beginning, my middle, and an end are strong. I have places in the show where I can try out material that if it fails or it doesn't hit, I'm not going to lose my audience. And I do throw those in. You got to try it out somewhere. But my commitment to my audience is that I'm going to give them a professional experience. And that goes, something I notice, it's not just material, it's everything. So when you're putting together a virtual show, the amateur or the pro amateur, we're both on the Zoom Facebook group, will write, hey, I'm looking for a microphone. What's the cheapest good one I can get? Someone who respects their audience will say, hey, I'm looking for a great microphone. Any suggestions? And then find one that fits their budget. But when you look for the cheapest material, when you purposely say, I don't respect my audience enough that I'm going to actually invest in this, whether it's one show or 1,000 shows, it shows. The audience picks up on that. And we've entered this bizarre world. And I will say it tends to be the weekend warriors or I have another job, I just do this on the side. They have embraced more than I ever could and understand more than I ever could the technological aspects of these shows, the OBSs, the eCams, and they have put together visually very interesting shows. Unfortunately, they neglected their material and what they have put, not everybody. So the person watching this going, screw you, maybe it's not about you. But what a lot of them, and this is just my experience, there's an expression in the art world when you have nothing nice to say about the piece, you say beautiful frame. And I think a lot of people have beautiful frames. Their show is boring. They have not managed to go past so they put all their energy into the technology. One more time. Nope.
Hey, now I'm
Now I can
talking. It's just I changed nothing and it works. That's great.
magic.
So you you have a very clear sense of like you're offering one service in a live show and another service or in a IRL show, and then you're offering a completely different service in a Zoom show. It's
No,
not,
not a service. It's two different. It's the same for my clients. It's the same exact offering. It is show A, show B. So if you book a Zoom show, you are getting the exact same, in my opinion, experience for your members or your team or your staff as if you hired me for my live show. It's a 50-minute live in-person show over the Zoom. The difference is I didn't get on an airplane, fly, spend the night, but it is just as interactive. I use someone for my audience, and I know people are going to steal this. My audience are not volunteers. They are not spectators. They are co-stars. I cannot do my show without them. They're my co-stars. And I embrace them and I start my show off with that. And I very, very quickly push and punch and throw tantrums so that they realize, oh, we are at a show right now. And when someone's not paying attention, I call them out. When they can turn off their camera, then they don't exist to me. But if your camera is on, I'm interacting with you. I'm seeing you. I am participating in this experience, and I expect you to, comma, to. And it's been successful for me. I don't think a lot of people can do that. That is the world of Zoom performance is, especially in the magic world. I bought a trick. I bought a camera. I have some lights. You can do a show, and you can do a good show. I saw a show the other night. Someone sent me a link, and it was someone who did an hour of very good magic. It was all store bought. I mean, it was expensive, but bought material, not theirs. And the tricks were good. The audience enjoyed the tricks. The performer was unmemorable. They could not get past the end of their camera was where their show stopped. Yes, they called on people. Yes, they said, hey, where are you from? There was no interaction. Asking someone where they're from is not an interaction. So you can, and I think most people can buy
That's
material.
my show is called Where Are You From?
Where are you from?
And I,
And that's, by the way, but that's not bad. The audience,
they
I was,
love zip codes. People
yeah,
love zip codes.
there is do the zip code act. Justin bought it. Sorry, it's out of service. There are different levels. I was talking to my mother about this. My mother called up. She goes, "I didn't like that performer. He wasn't you." And I'm like, "Well, nobody's me. That's why each performer has their career. They are them." I think that Paul Draper does a Jeff McBride magic class, and we were talking about this. And the real honest answer is anybody can be successful, but it's understanding what your success is. Gentlemen, Gary Farr and Harrison Kramer have done hundreds of shows, paid shows. God bless them. That's not going to be, that's the measure of their success and their marketing and their ability to get out there. And that is freaking incredible. There are people where their measure of success is, I had 10 people come to my friends and family show. That's awesome. There are people that we cannot, and everything in between. We can't judge someone else's success. It's a personal thing. What we can do is recognize that there are different types of shows. The person who's a weekend warrior, who sets up a green screen, who's really excited about the technology, and puts on an enjoyable hour or whatever of entertainment, and people show up, that's success. And they should embrace that. They are not, even though they may be charging.
What is success to you?
To me, steady bookings, bookings a few months out, people coming. It's a business for me. So this is not, I did a show, yay, people came. That's failure for me, that I'm paying my bills. That my base level is 50, 100 people coming to a show. For me, success is I can look at the next quarter and know that my bills are paid with money left over. I can look at the next quarter and see 10, 15 bookings. I can look at the next quarter and see continued growth. That's success for me. And I think ultimately the highest level of success is what I've been experiencing with the Zoom show is people emailing me saying, "Hey, I got your name from so and so. They loved you. Let's put on a show." And a lot of people are seeing their business dry up because the holidays are over, and I really hope that's not the case for the serious professional. The serious performer may not be a professional. They may be a lawyer, a doctor, a garbage man, a whatever, a janitor. They're okay with, hey, I did 20 shows, I did 100 shows. This is the best year I ever had. Isn't that incredible? Back to real life. My life is this. So I have to have continued bookings and growth.
Cheapness mindset.
What,
Um,
what was that?
you were talking about the cheapness mindset, and how how do you reckon the? I think at least initially everybody was looking at Zoom as like, this is cheap. This is a patch for the moment, and it's not good, and it's not going to be good, and it's a cheaper experience than a face-to-face show.
You know.
So how do you look at that?
Um, I think there's a happy medium. I think when I went to theater school, I went to Carnegie Mellon School of Theater, and in my like set design class, the teacher was explaining about fabrics and how when you design a set, you don't buy the most expensive furniture. You don't design. You have to pick and choose what you spend your money on. And he gave an example, and he goes, "You can have a cheap IKEA couch that looks incredible. You can. There are certain you can fake certain things to look expensive." He goes, "Drapery, you can't. You can tell when something is truly plush. You can tell when clothing and drapes are expensive." And you go, and I always remembered that. And there are certain things that you need to spend money on and certain things you don't. Um, you don't need $1,000 lights. You also shouldn't have $50, like, all your lighting. Oh, I got a desk lamp. There is a happy medium. And I think reaching out and asking other people, hey, what are the lights that don't say what's the cheapest light that worked for you. Hey guys, what lights worked for you? You're going to get 4 or 5 different answers from 50 people, and you're going to go, you know what? I'm not going to go with the cheapest because in my experience, you buy the cheapest 3 times. So that defeats the purpose of being the cheapest. And I'm not going to go with the most expensive. This is a 1 or 2 year thing. I just want something that will work well. So that's yep.
What I'm trying to say is, like, you are making money with a show,
Yeah.
and how do you how what was your thought process in coming from these are online videos to this is a real show and it's worth money? How do you value your show
I,
online
I think
compared to in real life?
I think they're
I'm
equal.
not I'm not talking about equipment. I'm talking about the
If someone is paying me to perform for them, it is an equal experience. Um, I don't charge now. You and I differ on this. I charge less for my online show than my in-person show. Taking out the cost of travel and everything, I still charge less. The reason for it is I am establishing relationships. And if I ask a company or if I ask a club or a person to blow their wad on this Zoom experience, I lose the opportunity to for them to book me next year or the year after for my second show. I believe, and after every show, I email them and I say, here's the cost for my in-person show. Here's all the information. It's completely different. Please let me know when you're ready to book. I'll reach out when things open back up. But in terms of the value of each show, 100% the same. If I am hired, it's always a material. Again, I'm doing this for a living. I rely on people calling other people. So I want to give the most phenomenal experience, impression, and memory that I can. And I don't ever want someone to say, that guy did great tricks. That's a killer for me. I need them to say, oh my God, Michael was so much fun. What did he do? Oh, he read my mind. Yeah, I don't know, but holy cow, he was great. Such energy. I want the show to be about me. I want them to remember me because word of mouth is never. gonna work if it's that guy did such incredible magic. It has to be that person, insert name, did incredible magic, was so entertaining, was so funny, took great pictures, whatever your business is, played incredible music, put on a great show for you. Yeah, that game show was really fun, but Scott, oh, holy cow, that guy was great. That's word of mouth. Word of mouth is not, oh my goodness, he really fooled me. That's why celebrity testimonials don't work, except for Penn and Teller Fool Us, where you actually have the video. Celebrity testimonials are useless. I never understood why people put them on their reels. I can't call up Shaquille O'Neal and be like, "Did you really say that?" The best magician ever. Give me a break. But if I say best magician ever, Joe Schmo at Xerox, you can pick up the phone and call Xerox and say, I'd like to speak with Joe Schmo. Hey, I heard you. Oh my goodness, we hired that guy for our Zoom show. He's incredible. I don't know how you got my number, but book him.
So success is getting bookings lined up for you,
Yes,
being
longevity.
and being solid in your financial plans.
Yeah,
How close are you to that and coming into 2021?
I'm good.
You're successful?
I'm very successful. Yeah, I'm booked for the first quarter. I'm just about booked up to March. I have a list of about 100 people who are waiting for their venues to open up, who are reaching out to me as opposed to me reaching out to them. Um, I got money in the bank, thankfully. It's We tend to think of success in terms of money, as I do and you do, but again, it's not the dollar amount; it's the longevity amount. Stop. We need to stop thinking about in the Magic Castle. People go, I charge $10,000 for a show. Isn't that great? Oz Perlman's charging 10,000 or whatever a show. That's incredible. But we can't we can't all be O's. We can't all be an America's Got Talent finalist. So we can't look at the dollar amount people are making. We have to look at the longevity we are creating and the longevity we want. Um, if you are booking shows into the future, if you are looking at your calendar and going, oh my goodness, for the next 5 months, 4 months, 3 months, whatever it is for you, I have enough money to pay the bills. If you are looking at your calendar and you are going, oh my goodness, I created this thing out of nothing when it didn't exist 9 months ago, and people want it so much that they are asking me for shows for the next X amount of months, days, hours. I'm successful. If you are not searching for people to hire you, you're putting on these ticketed events, and people are showing up after 9 months, even if it's 5 people. In my opinion, you're successful because I did a show in New York City, and yes, ultimately it was successful, but I had one performance where 3 people showed up. That's not success. That's not success. But to do an online event where there's thousands of things going on and to do it where a random person shows up, that's amazing. We need to stop looking at the dollar sign and look at all the other elements of success.
Intellectual. You're very um, you're very conscious about a lot of aspects of your career and stuff. I would like you to speak from your heart and tell me, just to close it out, tell me what's exciting to you about the future of you and everybody else. What's got you pumped?
So for everybody else, I'll start with everybody else first. So what has me excited is to see where this goes. This is the first time on a performance level, I think, where a lot of the amateurs, a lot of the weekend warriors, the hobbyists actually have the exact same opportunities as a lot of the full-time pros. And I am excited to see what they do with it. I'm excited to see what someone who in the world of magic, the best technicians tend to be the amateurs, tend to be the hobbyists, tend to be the pro-ams who can spend the time working on new material. I'm so excited to see what they come up with. I'm fearful that they forget that it needs to be entertaining. The danger of all of this is, I always say, perform for the person who doesn't want to see a magic show. Entertain that person. Everybody else will be entertained if you can do that. This is not the time to be working on a 4 ace reveal 7 times. This is the time to work on being entertaining. And I'm excited to see what people come up with. I'm excited to see. I do a 1961 Abbott snake basket in my show. I will never be able to do that again. I am so excited to see what everybody goes into their closet now that we're 10 months into this. What are you pulling out? What material have you never been able to do that you now can do, and finding a way to make it work on Zoom? I am so excited for that. For me, I'm excited to finish up the Zoom era. I think we have another 6 months to a year. I'm excited to continue to remind people that there is value in entertainment in all shapes and forms. Oh,
Are you going to stop doing Zoom shows at a certain point, you think?
no, listen. I mean, I have the equipment, so if someone wants, it's another offering. Why would I stop? I mean, it's 2 seconds to move a couch out of the way and set up a curtain, and I've passed the return date for everything. So I would be foolish to be like, no, I don't do those anymore. With that being said, I want to get back to my live in-person shows, not my live Zoom shows. And there's a reason for that. It's where I feel the future is. So the future is not Zoom shows. For me, the future in the long run is my evening of entertainment for corporate events, private clubs, insert venue. With that being said, I would never. If someone wants me to do a telephone show, I'll do it. This is my living. This is when people who go, I will not do Zoom shows. My question is why? What? I have profound sadness for the people who are starving in our industry, who cannot afford their bills. I have profound sadness for the people who just couldn't find it in them to adapt and have sat and waited. I have no empathy for them. That was a choice. We are a community, and there needs to be support for the people who weren't able to join up with most people and come up with a Zoom show. But the world changes, and we needed to be ready for that and make adjustments. And 9-10 months into this, we're now seeing the end of it. We're now on we are kind of on the other side. We're seeing the vaccines roll out. And it's given renewed hope for the people who have sat back and waited. The problem is, yes, the small, intimate house parties will come back quickly. People are going to be ready for that, and they're going to want entertainment and whatever. The corporate events, I mean, I'm talking to event planners and conference planners. For the next year, conferences are online. So corporate entertainers have one more year of this. Private clubs are rearing to get back, but they're also being very careful about booking events, and they don't want to deal with cancellations. So they're not booking these shows until they're sure they're not going to have to cancel it and make members upset. So there's another 6 months to a year of Zoom shows for them. And then, in 2 years, 3 years, when people are like, hey, let's have a family reunion, we can't all get together, we're going to do a Zoom reunion. Isn't this nostalgic? They're going to want a performer. They're going to say, hey, we should get a magician. I now have a second source of income, a second show that I can do on Zoom into the future that I've already paid for, that's paid for itself. It's just another thing in my toolbox. And we as performers, um, need to listen to what our audiences want, not dictate to them what they're going to get. And
Thank
what
you
was that?
so much for talking. We've gone over time. I'm sorry to take up so much of your time.
I should have signed up for the hour slot. I know.
No, it was great, man. Thank you so much for
I
giving
hope I come
so
off.
much positivity to the world.
People are not happy with what I said, they can email me at gofuckyourself@gmail.com.
Perfect.
All right.
I think
This
that comes to me. I think those emails come to me. Uh, awesome, man. Thank you for talking,
thing,
Michael.
I just want everybody to be their best and make lots of money and put on good shows.
Perfect. Me too.
All
Let's keep that going. I'll talk to
right.
you soon.
Bye bye, Scott. Thank you.
Bye.